The bodyguard collapsed at 2:47 a.m. His lips were turning blue. Maya Torres froze, rag in hand, empty diner around her. She knew those symptoms. She'd seen them before. Years ago, in a hospital room she'd spent a decade trying to forget. The door slammed open. A man in an expensive suit dragged the dying bodyguard inside, eyes wild with panic. Someone call 911. But Maya was already moving, not because she was brave, because her hands remembered what her mind had buried. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck, checked his eyes, saw the gray-white color spreading across his skin like poison. This wasn't a heart attack. And when the bodyguard's eyes finally opened and locked onto hers, Maya saw something that made her blood stop. Terror. He recognized her. But how? What she was about to discover would destroy everything she thought she'd escaped. Drop a comment right now. What do you think he whispered? Because what happens next will shock you. 2:30 a.m. Sterling's Diner. Maya Torres wiped down the same table for the 3rd time. Not because it was dirty, because staying still meant thinking. And thinking meant adding up numbers that never worked. $8,000. That's what Daniel's treatment cost every month. She was 3 months behind, $24,000 behind. The fluorescent lights above her flickered. Again, everything in this place was dying slowly. The cracked red vinyl booths, the chrome counter losing its shine, the neon sign outside that buzzed like a dying wasp. Through the windows she could see them. The luxury high-rises, marble lobbies, glowing gold, doormen in uniforms that probably cost more than her rent. Chicago's Gold Coast, where billionaires made deals over whiskey while she scraped grease off plates for $7 an hour plus tips. More coffee, sweetie? The regular at the counter, Mr. Petrov, came in every Tuesday, nodded without looking up from his tablet. Says here Vanguard's getting fast-track FDA approval, he said, scrolling. My retirement portfolio's counting on it. Pharmaceutical stocks are about to explode. Maya poured his coffee, said nothing. Another company getting rich while people like Daniel can't afford basic treatment. She noticed Mr. Petrov's hand shaking as he lifted the cup. Slight tremor. Left hand only. Probably Parkinson's medication. The kind with dopamine agonists. She'd seen it 1,000 times during her rotations at Northwestern. Before she dropped out. Before everything fell apart. Her eyes drifted to the wall behind the counter. Employee of the Month photos going back years. There, 2015. A face she barely recognized anymore. Younger. Hopeful. Still believed she'd become a doctor. That was before room 847. Before the threats. Before she learned that some truths were too expensive to tell. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Can't sleep. Pain's bad tonight. Don't worry about me. Focus on work. She closed her eyes. Daniel was 17. He shouldn't be texting his sister at 2:30 a.m. telling her not to worry. He should be sneaking out to parties. Stressing about college applications. Instead, he was dying on their couch because his autoimmune disorder required medication their insurance wouldn't cover and they couldn't afford. The math was simple. Cruel, but simple. 6 more months of missed payments and they'd lose him. Maya folded her rag. Checked the clock. 2:45 a.m. 15 minutes until her shift ended. 15 minutes until she could go home and pretend to sleep while calculating which bill to pay late this month. The door chime was broken. Had been for months. So when the door exploded open at 2:47 a.m., there was no warning. Just the sound of something crashing. Glass breaking. A man screaming for help. The man in the $5,000 suit stumbled through the door like he'd been shoved. He wasn't alone. He was dragging someone. A bigger man. Heavier. Dead weight. Maya's coffee pot hit the counter. The bigger man's face was wrong. Very white. Like meat left out too long. His lips had a blue tint that made Maya's stomach drop. She knew that color. Call 911. The suited man's voice cracked with panic. Something's wrong. He just collapsed outside. I don't know what. But Maya was already moving. Her hands knew what to do before her brain caught up. Muscle memory from rotations she'd never finished. Training she'd abandoned. She rounded the counter. dropped to her knees beside them. The collapsed man was mid-40s, athletic build, expensive watch. His chest was moving, barely. Shallow breaths, rapid. His hand clutched his left side, just below the rib cage, like something inside was burning him alive. Put him flat, on his back. Now, Maya's voice came out steady, calm, like she did this every day instead of serving eggs and toast. The suited man obeyed. His hands were shaking. Maya pressed 2 fingers to the collapsed man's neck. Pulse fast, thready. She pulled back his eyelid. Pupils responsive, but sluggish. What's his name? Marcus. Marcus Webb. He's my bodyguard. We were just walking back from a club, and he said he felt dizzy, and then... Marcus. Maya leaned close to his face. Marcus, can you hear me? Nothing. She looked at the suited man. Your phone. Flashlight. Now. He fumbled it out. His hand shook so hard he almost dropped it. Maya shined the light at Marcus's lips. Blue-tinged. Cyanosis. His breathing was shallow and rapid tachypnea. She pulled up his shirt. No rash. No visible trauma. But when she pressed gently on his left side, his whole body tensed even unconscious. What did he eat or drink in the last hour? What? Why does that? Answer the question. Just whiskey. 2 glasses. Same thing I had. Why? This isn't a heart attack. The suited man's face went white. What? Maya's mind was racing. She'd seen this before. Not the exact symptoms, but close enough. Too close. Room 847. The patient who kept saying his side burned. The one who died 3 days later. Maya's voice caught. I need activated charcoal. Do you have any? No, stupid question. She ran back behind the counter, grabbed the fire extinguisher, then stopped. Wrong kind. Wouldn't work. She grabbed a clean towel, soaked it in cold water, pressed it to Marcus's forehead. Stay with me, Marcus. Stay with me. His eyes fluttered open. For just a second, he looked directly at Maya, and something in his expression changed. Confusion. Then recognition. Then something worse. Terror. His lips moved. Barely whisper. The suited man leaned down. Marcus whispered something Maya couldn't hear. The suited man's face transformed. Gratitude melted into confusion. Confusion twisted into something that looked like fear. He stared at Maya like she'd just become dangerous. Sirens wailed in the distance. The paramedics burst through the door 3 minutes later. Maya stood back. Let them work. But her mind wouldn't stop. Cyanosis. Tachypnea. Localized pain. Cellular oxygen disruption. I've seen this before. Ma'am. One of the paramedics, young, barely older than Daniel, looked at her. You the one who called? I am. The suited man stepped forward, but she helped him. She knew she did something. The paramedic looked at Maya. What are his symptoms? Maya's training kicked in. Respiratory distress with cyanosis. Rapid onset approximately 4 minutes ago. Pulse thready at 110. Breathing shallow and rapid. No signs of cardiac event. Localized pain, left side, just below ribcage. The paramedic's eyebrows shot up. You medical? Maya hesitated. Was, sort of. Long time ago. Sort of? The paramedic was already checking Marcus's vitals. Lady, you just gave me a better assessment than half the ER docs I work with. Marcus's eyes opened again. Focused. His breathing was slightly better. Whatever was happening had stabilized. For now, the paramedic radioed for a gurney. The suited man pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke in low, clipped tones. Maya caught fragments. Not the hospital. Yes, I know what I'm paying you for a private facility. 2 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up outside. Not an ambulance. Private vehicle. The paramedics looked confused. The suited man handed them something. Cash. A lot of it. We'll take him from here. I have a private medical team waiting. One paramedic looked ready to argue. The other one counted the bills and shrugged. They loaded Marcus onto the gurney. wheeled him toward the SUV. Maya stood in the middle of her diner, coffee pot still on counter, wet towel on the floor, her heart hammering. The suited man stopped at the door, turned back, walked directly to Maya. Up close she could see the expensive details. Custom suit, Italian shoes, watch worth more than her car. His face was composed now, controlled, like he'd put on a mask. "You helped my friend." His voice was quiet, measured. "I'm grateful." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a business card, pressed it into her hand. "But I need to know you're discreet." Maya looked down at the card. Alexander Chun Capital Ventures. No phone number, just an address. Cornerstone Club. Discreet about what? Maya's voice came out steadier than she felt. "I just helped someone who collapsed." $50,000. Alexander's eyes locked onto hers. "Cash. Tomorrow. All I need is your silence about tonight." The number hit her like cold water. $50,000. 6 months of Daniel's treatment. 6 months of not choosing between rent and medication. 6 months of breathing. Why? Maya's throat was dry. Why would you pay someone to forget you were grateful? Alexander's expression didn't change. Because gratitude and discretion are different things. Do we have an understanding? Outside, the SUV's engine was running. Marcus loaded inside. No hospital. No record. Like this never happened. Every instinct Maya had was screaming. But $50,000. I need to think. You have until tomorrow night. Same time. Same place. Alexander turned toward the door. Paused. "And Ms. Torres? Don't try to find us. We'll find you." He knew her name. She'd never told him her name. The SUV pulled away into the Chicago night. Maya stood alone in Sterling's diner, business card in hand, questions multiplying like cancer cells. Why did Marcus look terrified when he saw her face? What did he whisper? And why did $50,000 feel less like gratitude and more like a bribe to forget she'd ever seen him die? 6 a.m. Maya unlocked her apartment door as quietly as she could. Daniel was asleep on the couch. Again, he couldn't make it up the stairs to his bedroom anymore. The pain was too bad, but he'd never admit it. She set her keys down silently, looked around. Medical bills, everywhere, taped to the fridge with payment due dates highlighted in red, stacked on the kitchen counter, covering the coffee table like the world's most depressing wallpaper. Maya pulled out Alexander Chen's business card, stared at it. $50,000. She did the math again. Couldn't help it. Daniel's medication, $8,000 a month. They were 3 months behind, $24,000. At the current month, $32,000. That left $18,000 for rent, food, utilities. Maybe 4 more months of survival. For months of Daniel not dying. Her eyes drifted to the rejection letter on the counter. Northwestern University School of Medicine. She'd applied to return last year. They'd said no. Incomplete academic record. Too much time elapsed. There was a photo next to it. Maya in scrubs, 2015. First day of rotations. Smiling like she'd won the lottery. She'd been so stupid. Thought she could save people. Thought the truth mattered. Thought reporting irregularities made her brave instead of unemployed. Daniel stirred on the couch, opened his eyes. "You're home." His voice was rough from sleep. "How was the shift?" "Fine." Maya forced a smile. "Go back to sleep." "Liar." Daniel sat up slowly, every movement careful, calculated. "Something happened." "Nothing happened." "Maya." He looked at her with eyes too old for 17. "I know when you're lying. You've been doing it since Mom and Dad died." Maya's throat tightened. "I'm lying to protect you. I've always been lying to protect you." She sat down next to him, showed him the card. "Someone offered me money tonight. A lot of money." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "For what?" "To forget something I saw. Then forget it." Daniel's response was immediate. "Whatever it is, forget it. Take the money. Pay for my treatment. Stop killing yourself working 3 jobs." "Danny." I'm serious. His hand found hers. Squeezed. I'm not worth dying for. Maya pulled him into a hug. Felt how thin he'd gotten. Felt his ribs through his shirt. You're worth everything, she whispered. But as she held him, her mind wouldn't stop. Why did Marcus recognize me? Why did he look terrified? Maya's second job started at 9 a.m. Retail. Folding clothes. Smiling at customers. Pretending $50,000 wasn't burning a hole in her pocket. She lasted until her break. 10 minutes. That's all she had. She locked herself in the bathroom. Pulled out her phone. Started searching. Marcus Webb symptoms poisoning. Nothing useful. Cyanosis, localized pain, rapid onset. Medical journals. Too technical. But she understood them. Her incomplete education was still an education. The symptoms matched. Acute cellular hypoxia. Oxygen disruption at the cellular level. Usually caused by toxins. Carbon monoxide. Cyanide compounds. Certain drugs. But Marcus wasn't exhibiting classic poisoning symptoms. This was slower. More targeted. Maya's fingers moved faster. Slow-acting cellular toxins, cumulative exposure. The search results changed. One article caught her eye. Experimental Drug Trials 2015 Northwestern Medical Center Review. Her heart stopped. She clicked. The article was about Vanguard Therapeutics. Clinical trials for a new autoimmune drug. Promising results. FDA approval pending. Maya scrolled. Buried in paragraph 7. Previous trials conducted 2014 to 2015 showed concerning adverse reactions in small subset of participants. These issues were reportedly addressed in subsequent formulations. Reportedly addressed. Maya's hand started shaking. She remembered. Room 847. Thomas Rivera, construction worker, came in complaining of pain, burning sensation in his side, trouble breathing. She documented everything. Told Dr. Hart something was wrong with the trial. Dr. Hart told her she was inexperienced. Told her to focus on her studies. Told her Thomas had pre-existing conditions. 3 days later, Thomas was dead. Heart failure. That's what they called it. Maya kept searching. Pulled up her old notes. The ones she'd kept despite the threats. The ones she'd hidden on a cloud drive thinking maybe someday they'd matter. Thomas Rivera. Marcus Webb. Different names. Same symptoms. Acute cellular hypoxia with localized necrosis. Marcus recognized her. Because he was there. Northwestern. 2015. He saw her report the irregularities. He saw them disappear. And now he was dying from the exact same thing. Ma'am? You okay there? Her manager's voice outside the bathroom. Maya flushed the toilet for appearances. Washed her hands. Stared at herself in the mirror. I've seen this before. Room 847. The patient who kept saying his side burned. The one Dr. Hart told me to ignore. Someone was killing Marcus the same way they killed Thomas. And they were paying her $50,000 to stay quiet about it. The text came at 2:17 p.m. Unknown number. Stop asking questions. You don't understand what you're digging into. Maya's blood went cold. She was in the middle of the store floor. Customers everywhere. Her phone screen felt radioactive. A second text. Room 847 had the answers. Maya's knees almost gave out. Room 847. Nobody knew about that except her, Dr. Hart, and security. Hospital security would have records. Would have seen her going in and out. Would have seen her reporting irregularities. Third text. They're watching. Be careful. M. Marcus. Marcus was texting her. Her fingers moved before her brain caught up. Who's watching? Who switched your bracelet? She hit send. Watched the 3 dots appear. Disappear. Appear again. Then delete this thread. Now, a photo came through. Close-up of a medical alert bracelet. The inscription clear, this time. Marcus Webb. Allergies. Penicillin, sulfa drugs, NSAIDs. Another text, not mine. Switched. Check original admissions, 2015. Maya's mind raced. Medical alert bracelets. Hospital admissions. 2015. Marcus was security at Northwestern when the trials happened. He saw everything, knew everything, and someone switched his medical alert bracelet, which meant someone close to him, someone who had access, someone who wanted doctors to treat him wrong, to miss what was actually killing him. Her phone buzzed again. You were right in 2015. They silenced you. Don't let them silence me. Meet me. You know where? Maya looked at the screen. She could delete this. Take the 50,000. Forget everything. Or she could finish what she started 10 years ago. Her shift manager called her name. Maya deleted the thread, but she'd already memorized every word. Room 847 had the answers. Time to find them. The Cornerstone Club didn't have a sign. Didn't need one. If you belonged there, you knew where it was. If you didn't belong, the security would escort you out before you got close. Maya stood outside in her retail uniform and sneakers. Grease stains on her pants from this morning's diner shift. Everything about her screamed, "You don't belong here." She walked up anyway. The security guard stepped forward. 6'5", built like a tank. Smile as warm as January in Chicago. "Can I help you?" Maya held up Alexander Chen's business card. The smile disappeared. He scanned the card, spoke into his earpiece, looked at her like she just sprouted a second head. "Follow me." The lobby was marble, real marble, the kind that probably cost more per square foot than Maya's entire apartment. Chandeliers that belonged in European palaces. Art on the walls that looked important. They took a private elevator. No buttons, just a penthouse keycard. The doors opened directly into an office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Chicago spread out below like a toy city. Desk bigger than Maya's kitchen. Art worth more than her lifetime earnings. Alexander Chen stood with his back to her, looking out at the city he owned. "I didn't expect you to come." His voice was calm, controlled. "I expected you to take the money and disappear." "What did Marcus whisper to you?" Alexander turned. His face gave away nothing. "That's not your concern." He recognized me. "How?" "Miss Torres." "Maya." "And you're going to answer me, or I'm walking out of here and going straight to the police with everything I saw last night." Alexander's expression flickered for just a second, then smoothed back into that controlled mask. "You don't want to involve the police." "Why? Because you're rich? Because you think money makes you untouchable? Because Marcus is dying?" Alexander's voice cracked, just slightly. "And involving authorities means involving bureaucracy, which means delays, which means I lose someone who saved my life years ago." Silence. Maya saw it then. The fear under the control. The desperation under the money. "Who are you?" "Really?" Alexander moved closer. "Because waitresses don't diagnose conditions that leave specialists baffled. I'm someone who was in medical school at Northwestern in 2015. Maya's voice was steady. "Someone who saw patients with these exact symptoms. Someone who tried to report it and got threatened into silence." "That's impossible. There's no record of—" "Exactly. No record. That's the point." Maya pulled out her phone, showed him the articles about Vanguard. "How much is Vanguard Therapeutics worth to you, Mr. Chin?" Alexander's face went pale. $200 million. We finalized the investment 6 months ago." "When did Marcus start getting sick?" The silence stretched like pull taffy. 6 months ago." Alexander's voice was barely a whisper. Maya let that sink in. "Marcus has been sick for months. Getting worse. The best doctors in the country can't diagnose it." She moved closer. "Because they're looking for natural causes. This isn't natural. Someone is poisoning him. Slowly. Deliberately. And I think you know why." Alexander sank into his chair, his controlled exterior crumbling. "He tried to warn me. About Vanguard. Said something was wrong with their trials. I didn't listen." His hands covered his face. "I thought he was being paranoid. I invested anyway. And now someone's making sure he can't warn anyone else." Alexander looked up. His eyes were red. "Can you save him?" "I don't know, but I know someone who might." Marcus was security at Northwestern in 2015. Maya paced Alexander's office, her sneakers squeaking on imported tile. He must have seen the same things I saw, probably more. He never told me specifics, just said Vanguard was dangerous, that their trials kill people. Alexander was on his feet now too, energy flowing back. I don't know what I thought, that he was exaggerating, that he'd misunderstood something. He didn't misunderstand. Maya pulled up her old notes on her phone. 23 people, all low income, all enrolled in Vanguard's autoimmune trials, all developed the same symptoms, all died within 18 months, all blamed on pre-existing conditions. Alexander stared at the list. My God, your $200 million made that company untouchable, gave them resources to bury this deeper. And someone over there knows Marcus has evidence. So they're eliminating the problem. The medical alert bracelet. Exactly. Someone close to him, someone who had access, switched it so doctors would treat him for the wrong things, miss what's actually killing him. Alexander's jaw tightened. How do we stop it? I need to talk to Marcus. Really talk to him. He's being treated at a private facility. I'll arrange. No. Maya, cut him off. Bring him somewhere they aren't watching. Somewhere public. You think they're monitoring him at a medical facility? You're learning. Yes. Maya felt a grim satisfaction at the horror on his face. Sterling's Diner. Tomorrow night. 2 a.m. Graveyard shift. No cameras inside. If anyone's following, we'll see them coming. Alexander nodded slowly. What else do you need? Access to Marcus's real medical history. Everything. Blood work, imaging, medication records. Done. And protection. Maya's voice dropped. For my brother, Daniel, he's 17. Autoimmune disorder. Can't defend himself. If Vanguard finds out I'm involved, I'll have security on him within the hour. Best team money can buy. Alexander's voice was fierce. I won't let them hurt your family the way they're hurting mine. Family. The word hung in the air. Marcus isn't your employee, is he? He saved my life. 8 years ago, I was being targeted. Business deal gone wrong. People wanted me dead. Marcus was just security at the building where I worked. He didn't have to help me, but he did. Got hurt protecting me. I've taken care of him ever since. That's why I'll do anything to save him. That's why I'll burn Vanguard to the ground if they're responsible for this. Alexander's eyes were hard. And Ms. Torres, you need money. I have money. You need resources. I have resources. You need credibility. I have that too. What are you saying? I'm saying we make a deal. You figure out what's killing Marcus and help me expose whoever's responsible. I pay for your brother's treatment. All of it. For life. Alexander extended his hand. Do we have an agreement? Maya looked at his hand. This was a deal with a billionaire. Someone whose world operated by rules she didn't understand. Someone who could make problems disappear. But it was also a deal to finish what she started. To get justice for Thomas Rivera. To stop Vanguard before they killed more people. She shook his hand. Sterling's Diner. Tomorrow, 2 a.m. Don't be late. 2 a.m. Sterling's Diner. Again. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd made coffee 3 times. Dropped the pot twice. Mr. Petrov had left hours ago. The diner was empty except for the ghosts of everything that happened here a week ago. The door opened. Alexander entered first. Then Marcus. Marcus looked worse. Thinner. Gray undertones to his skin that hadn't been there before. He moved like every step hurt. But he was walking. That was something. They slid into the corner booth. Away from the windows. Away from anyone who might be watching. Maya sat across from them, her heart hammering so hard she thought they could hear it. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were tired, old, like he'd been carrying something heavy for too long. You don't remember me. His voice was rough. But I remember you. Maya's throat closed. Northwestern Medical Center, 2015. You were a medical student. 3rd-year rotation. You reported irregularities in the Vanguard trials. Marcus leaned forward. I was head of security. I saw you going in and out of room 847. Saw you documenting everything. Saw you report to Dr. Hart. The diner tilted. Maya gripped the table. You were there. I was there when Dr. Hart told you to drop it. When the records disappeared overnight. When they called you into the administrator's office. Marcus's eyes never left hers. I was there when they threatened you. When you dropped out 2 weeks later. You saw all of that. Maya's voice came out hollow. And you did nothing. I did nothing. Marcus didn't flinch. Didn't make excuses. I was a coward. I told myself it wasn't my job. That I had a family to protect. That speaking up would cost me everything. It would have. I know. But you spoke up anyway. You were 25 years old. No power. No protection. And you tried to save them. Marcus pulled an envelope for his jacket. Set it on the table. You reported one patient. Thomas Rivera. Room 847. Maya's vision blurred. There were 17 others. The words hit like a physical blow. 17. 23 total by the time the trials ended. All low income. All enrolled in Vanguard's experimental autoimmune drug program. All developed the same symptoms. All dead within 18 months. Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless, like if he let himself feel it, he'd break. All blamed on pre-existing conditions. Heart failure, kidney failure, underlying health complications. That's murder. Yes. Alexander made a sound, somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Maya couldn't breathe. And you knew and stayed silent. After you left, I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing your face. That medical student who tried to do the right thing and got destroyed for it. Marcus opened the envelope, pulled out a USB drive. So I started copying files. Original trial data, consent forms, internal emails, audio recordings from executive meetings. Everything I could find before they scrubbed the servers. You kept evidence for 10 years. I kept evidence because I was waiting. Marcus slid the USB across the table, waiting for someone brave enough to finish what you started. Someone who'd understand what they were looking at. Someone who couldn't be bought or threatened into silence. Maya stared at the USB drive like it might explode. When I heard Alexander was investing in Vanguard, I took this job. Tried to warn him. He didn't listen. Marcus looked at Alexander. No accusation. Just fact. Then 6 months ago, I started getting sick. Recognized the symptoms. Same thing that killed those 23 people. Someone knew you had evidence. Someone knew. And decided to handle it quietly. Make it look natural. Marcus's hand went to his wrist. To the medical alert bracelet. I tried to figure out how they were doing it. Eliminated everything, food, water, medication. Couldn't find the source. Until you collapsed in my diner. I didn't collapse. Marcus met her eyes. I drove here. Made Alexander bring me here. Because you were the only person who'd recognize what was happening. The only person who'd know these symptoms weren't natural. Maya's hands were shaking again. You used yourself as bait. I'm dying anyway. Might as well die doing something that matters. Marcus pushed the USB closer. This is everything. 23 names. 23 families. All the proof you need. I'm passing it to you because 10 years ago you tried to save them. Now you get another chance. Maya's apartment. 4 a.m. The USB drive sat on her kitchen table like a loaded gun. Alexander paced. Marcus slumped in a chair, exhausted from the trip. Maya stared at her laptop screen. 23 files. 23 people. She opened the first one. Thomas Rivera. Age 34. Construction worker. Enrolled in Vanguard Protocol VG. 447. June 2015. Deceased September 2015. Listed cause. Heart failure. Attached. Original autopsy report. Cellular necrosis patterns. Organ damage consistent with toxic exposure. All of it documented. All of it ignored. Attached consent form. Signature, Thomas Rivera. Except the handwriting analysis notes said it didn't match his DMV signature. Forged. Attached payment receipt. $50,000 to Rivera family. Labeled grief settlement. Date: 2 days after his death. Maya opened another file. Same pattern. Lisa, age 29, retail worker. Enrolled in Vanguard Protocol VG447, May 2015. Deceased November 2015. Listed cause: kidney failure. Forged consent. $50,000 payment. Symptoms documented, then dismissed. Another file. James Patterson, age 41, janitor. Enrolled in Vanguard Protocol VG 447, April 2015. Deceased October 2015. Listed cause: complications from diabetes. Except James Patterson's medical records showed well-controlled diabetes. No complications until 3 months into the trial. Maya kept opening files. The pattern repeated 23 times. All low income, all enrolled without proper consent, all dead, all paid off with exactly $50,000. My God. Alexander had stopped pacing, was staring at the screen over Maya's shoulder. They calculated it. $50,000 was cheaper than lawsuits, cheaper than recalls, cheaper than admitting the drug failed. Marcus pulled up an audio file. Listen. He hit play. A woman's voice. Clear. Professional. Cold. The side effects are manageable if we select the right population. Low-income patients are less likely to have resources to fight back. $50,000 is enough to silence most families. The ones who push further, we have legal teams for that. Maya's stomach turned. That's Dr. Patricia Whitmore. She ran the trials. Now she's Executive VP of Vanguard, worth $400 million personally. Marcus's voice was bitter. The drug got approved based on falsified data. Vanguard made billions, and she got rich off those 23 bodies. She knows you have this evidence. She found out 6 months ago. One of her people must have been watching me. That's when I started getting sick. Marcus touched his bracelet again. That's when this appeared. Maya looked at the bracelet. Really looked. When did you start wearing that? 6 months ago. Security protocol. Alexander insisted all senior staff wear them. Alexander's face went white. I didn't insist. Patricia suggested it during a business dinner. Said it was smart for everyone in high-risk positions to have medical identification. Maya grabbed the bracelet, examined it under the kitchen light. She gave these to you as gifts. Her assistant delivered them personally. Maya's fingers found the edge, the inner lining, pulled it back. Residue, chemical staining, almost invisible unless you were looking. Here. Her voice was shaking. This is how she's poisoning you. Transdermal delivery, absorbed through your skin. Slow, cumulative, designed to look like natural illness progression. Marcus stared at the bracelet, then ripped it off, threw it across the room. 6 months. I've been wearing my own murder weapon for 6 months. We need to get you to a hospital. Now. Alexander was already pulling out his phone. No. Maya grabbed his wrist. Think. If we take him to a hospital, they report it. Poison investigation. Whitmore finds out. He figured it out. She'll know we have the evidence. She'll come after all of us. Then what? I know someone who'll treat him quietly. Alexander looked skeptical. Someone you trust? Maya laughed. It came out bitter. Someone who owes me. Dr. Raymond Hart, my old supervisor. The one who told me to drop the Vanguard investigation in 2015. And you think he'll help? He disappeared to Europe right after I dropped out. Guilt, probably. But I tracked him down a few years ago. He's back, running a free clinic on the South Side. Maya met Alexander's eyes. He's been carrying the same guilt Marcus has. This is his chance at redemption, too. 40 minutes later, they pulled up outside a building that made Sterling's Diner look upscale. Peeling paint, bars on windows, sign that said Southside Community Health Center, in letters that had seen better decades. Inside was worse. Fluorescent lights, tile floors, the smell of disinfectant fighting a losing battle against poverty and desperation. A man in his 50s looked up from paperwork. gray hair, tired eyes. When he saw Maya, he went pale. Maya, Torres. Dr. Hart's voice was hoarse. I hoped I'd never see you again. Because you abandoned me when I needed backup? Because I was terrified. They threatened my family, my career, everything. Dr. Hart stood. Didn't come closer. What do you want? A chance to finish what we started. Maya stepped aside. Revealed Marcus. This is Marcus Webb. He's being poisoned. Same compound that killed Thomas Rivera and the others. I need chelation therapy started. Tonight. No paperwork. No reports. Dr. Hart looked at Marcus, at Alexander in his expensive suit, at Maya's determined face. If I do this, I'm complicit. Again, you were complicit when you stayed silent 10 years ago. Maya's voice was hard. This is your chance to stop being a coward. The words hung in the air. Dr. Hart flinched like she'd hit him, then nodded. Exam room 3. Let's see what we're dealing with. 3 hours later, Marcus was hooked up to 4. Chelation therapy dripping into his veins. Color already starting to return to his face. Dr. Hart pulled Maya aside. He'll need treatments twice a week for at least a month. Maybe longer. The compound in his system, it's nasty. Designed to accumulate. Designed to kill slowly. But he'll live? If we caught it in time. If they don't try another method. Dr. Hart looked at her. Really looked at her. Maya, what are you involved in? The same thing I was involved in 10 years ago. Except this time, I'm not stopping. They'll destroy you. They have more money, more power, more. They threatened my brother's insurance. He was 12 and dying. I understand terror, Dr. Hart. I understand what they can take from me. Maya's voice was steady. But I also understand that 23 people are dead. That 1 million people are taking a drug approved on falsified data. That someone has to fight. Dr. Hart was quiet for a long moment. What do you need from me? I need you to keep Marcus alive. And when the time comes, I need you to testify to what you saw in 2015. What you were too afraid to say then. You're going public. I'm finishing what Thomas Rivera deserved. What they all deserved. Maya turned to leave. Stopped. And Dr. Hart, thank you for helping. Even if it's 10 years too late. 6 a.m. Maya's apartment. She'd been awake for 26 hours. Her body was screaming for sleep. Her mind wouldn't stop. 23 people. 23 families. 23 lives stolen for profit. The door to the apartment opened. Daniel, he was supposed to be asleep. But there he was, standing in the doorway in his pajamas, looking at her with eyes that understood too much. You're not okay. It wasn't a question. Maya tried to smile. Failed. I'm fine. Liar. Daniel sat next to her. You've been talking in your sleep again. About room 847. About someone named Thomas. You've been doing it for years. Maya's throat closed. Danny, is this your chance to save him? Daniel's voice was quiet. The patient you couldn't save back then? The dam broke. Maya told him everything. The trials. The 23 victims. Marcus being poisoned. The evidence they'd found. The danger they were in. They threatened you, she finished. So they'd contaminate your treatment if I kept investigating. I should stop. I should take Alexander's money and walk away and keep you safe. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then, how many people died in those trials? 23. That we know of. How many people are taking that drug now? Maya pulled out her phone. Checked Vanguard's website. 1.2 million prescriptions. Daniel looked at her. His face serious. Old beyond his 17 years. Then you're not deciding between me and Marcus. You're deciding between me and 1 million people who might be getting poisoned right now. Danny, you don't understand. Mom and Dad didn't raise us to look away. His voice was firm. They died in that accident when I was 10. You were 19. You could have put me in foster care. Gone to medical school without the burden of a sick kid. You didn't. You stayed. You sacrificed everything. Because I love you. And now it's my turn to let you go. Daniel took her hand. You can't protect me from everything. But you can protect people like Thomas Rivera. people like me who need medicine to live and can't afford to be lied to about whether it's safe. Maya pulled him into a hug, felt how thin he'd gotten, how fragile. People need to know this story, Daniel whispered. They need to understand what companies hide. What if telling the story puts us at risk? What if staying silent means someone else's sister loses her brother? Maya held him tighter, made her decision. Drop a comment below. What would you do in Maya's position? Would you risk everything to expose the truth? Also, let us know where you are watching this video from. 1 week later, Maya sat in Alexander's office. Same floor-to-ceiling windows, different purpose. The windows were covered now, blinds drawn, security measures, because they weren't just investigating anymore. They were building a case. The USB drive's contents were spread across 4 laptops. Maya, Alexander, Marcus, recovering, stronger every day. Dr. Hart, who'd closed his clinic for the week to help. 23 victims, all enrolled between April 2015 and August 2015. Maya pulled up the timeline, all from low-income backgrounds, construction workers, retail employees, service industry, people who needed money and trusted doctors. Consent forms were all falsified. Dr. Hart pointed to the documents. Handwriting analysis proves it. They forged signatures. These people never properly consented to experimental trials. Marcus played another audio file. We need to target populations with limited education. They're less likely to read the fine print, less likely to question side effects. If they complain, we dismiss it as non-compliance or pre-existing conditions. Patricia Whitmore's voice, clear, damning. Alexander's jaw was tight. My $200 million helped this company grow, helped them develop new drugs that are probably killing people right now. Not probably. Maya pulled up current adverse reaction reports filed with the FDA. Look, VG-447, the drug they approved based on falsified trials. Current prescriptions, 1.2 million. Adverse reactions reported, 847. Deaths attributed to the drug, 12. 12 more people dead that they've admitted to. How many more are being dismissed as pre-existing conditions? Maya's voice was rising. How many more families are being paid $50,000 to stay quiet? She pulled up bank records Marcus had copied. Transactions from Vanguard to families. All exactly $50,000. Payment details, grief settlement, compassionate assistance, voluntary compensation. Legal language designed to prevent lawsuits. 3 other whistleblowers tried to expose this over the years. Dr. Hart pulled up news articles. Dr. Sarah Kim disappeared in 2016. Last seen entering Vanguard headquarters for a meeting. Never seen again. Michael Foster, Vanguard Quality Control Manager, tried to report to the FDA in 2018. Arrested 2 weeks later on fraud charges. His assets seized. Spent 2 years fighting to clear his name. By the time he was exonerated, he was bankrupt and no one would listen. Jennifer Martinez, nurse who worked the trials, went public in 2020. Died in a car accident 3 weeks later. Brakes failed. Investigation ruled it mechanical failure. The room was silent. They've killed whistleblowers. Maya's voice was hollow. This isn't just corporate corruption. This is organized murder to protect profit. Alexander stood, paced to the covered windows. We have everything. Evidence, audio, documents, proof. But how do we expose it without ending up like Sarah Kim or Jennifer Martinez? Marcus looked up from his laptop. We make it too big to bury. We don't go through official channels. We go straight to the people. Social media, traditional media, every platform simultaneously. Make it impossible to contain. Marcus's eyes were hard. They win by hiding in shadows. We drag them into the light. Maya made the call on Tuesday. Rachel Chen, Chicago Tribune, investigative journalist with a reputation for taking down corrupt corporations. I have evidence of pharmaceutical fraud. Deaths covered up. Families paid off. Everything documented. Rachel sounded interested. Send me what you have. If it checks out, we'll run it. Maya sent a sample. 10 pages. Enough to prove legitimacy without exposing everything. Waited. Wednesday morning. The black SUV appeared outside Sterling's diner during her shift. 2 men. Suits. Sunglasses. They sat at the counter. Didn't order. Just watched her. Maya's hands shook as she poured coffee, as she took orders, as she tried to pretend she didn't notice. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Drop the investigation or Daniel's next treatment gets contaminated. Photo attached. Daniel at the clinic, receiving his treatment. The photo was taken from inside the building. Clothes. Recent. Today. Maya's vision tunneled. She ran to the bathroom. Called Alexander. Her voice barely working. They found Daniel. They're threatening to poison his treatment. Where is he right now? Southside Clinic. Getting his infusion. I'm sending security. Stay calm. Stay where people can see you. I'll call you back. 10 minutes that felt like 10 hours. Alexander called back. Daniel's safe. My team has him. We're moving him to a secure location. Private facility. 24-hour guards. They were inside the clinic. They took that photo from inside. I know. We're sweeping your apartment now. Sweeping for what? Listening devices. Cameras. Your phone might be compromised. Maya felt sick. Alexander's security team found 3 listening devices in her apartment. 1 in the kitchen. 1 in her bedroom. 1 in Daniel's room. Her phone had been cloned. Every call, every text, every search. They'd been watching. Everything. Rachel Chin called that afternoon. I can't run your story. Her voice was tight. My editor killed it. Said Vanguard's legal team called. Threatened a lawsuit that would bankrupt the Tribune. I'm sorry. Maya's world tilted. But you saw the evidence. I believe you. My editor believes you. But he also believes Vanguard has deeper pockets and meaner lawyers than we do. Rachel paused. For what it's worth, keep fighting. Find another way. This story needs to come out. The line went dead. Maya sat in Alexander's office. Marcus across from her. Dr. Hart in the corner. Alexander pacing. They blocked the Tribune. They're watching us. They threatened Daniel. Maya's voice was hollow. We can't win. They have too much power. Too much money. Too much. Thomas Rivera had a daughter. Dr. Hart's voice cut through. She was 8 years old. Do you know what I think about every day? That little girl growing up without her father because I was too afraid to fight. Maya looked at him. This isn't fair. We have evidence. We have truth. Why doesn't that matter? Because truth without power is just noise. Marcus leaned forward. We need leverage. We need to make this so big they can't suppress it. Alexander stopped pacing. What are you suggesting? We stop playing by their rules. We change the game entirely. Thursday morning. Legal-sized envelope arrived at Maya's apartment. Vanguard Therapeutics Legal Department. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. Cease and desist. Harassment. Stalking of executives. Theft of proprietary information. Unauthorized practice of medicine. Criminal charges pending unless. She stopped immediately. Her phone rang. Alexander. I got one too. So did Marcus. So did Dr. Hart. How did they know? About the evidence retrieval? About us working together? Marcus's voice joined the call. Because they wanted me to pass the evidence to someone. I've been bait for 10 years. Maya's stomach dropped. What? Think about it. Vanguard couldn't find all the copies I made. Couldn't risk searching for them openly without confirming they existed. So they watched me, waited to see who I'd trust with the information. And when you collapsed in my diner, I led them straight to you, to Alexander, to Dr. Hart, everyone involved. Marcus's voice was bitter. I thought I was being clever. I gave them exactly what they wanted. Alexander's assistant burst into his office. Maya could hear it through the phone. Sir, Vanguard's legal team is calling our investors, threatening to withdraw from future deals if we continue supporting whistleblowers. Dr. Hart's voice joined. Medical board just scheduled an emergency review of my license. Effective immediately. Maya's own phone buzzed. Email from Daniel's insurance company. Notice of potential fraud investigation. They were coming after all of them. Simultaneously. Coordinated. They're using the system against us. Alexander's voice was tight. Every legal avenue is a trap. They own the lawyers. They own the regulatory agencies. They own the game. Because they own the system. Maya felt anger replacing fear. Money buys laws, buys lawyers, buys silence. Then we can't beat them in their system. Marcus's voice was hard. We need to change the game. Friday. Emergency meeting. Secure location. Alexander had rented an apartment under a shell company. We can't win in court. Can't win through regulatory agencies. Can't win through traditional media. Marcus pulled up his laptop. But public opinion? That's different. Social media? Alexander looked skeptical. Vanguard has PR teams. Crisis management. They'll spin it. Not if we make it too big to spin. Not if we release everything at once across every platform simultaneously. Marcus was already typing. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube. Make it impossible to contain. This exposes all of us. Maya's voice was quiet. Our faces, our names, everything. We're already exposed. They know who we are. They're already coming after us. Marcus looked at her. The only question is whether we go down quietly or whether we take them with us. Maya thought about Thomas Rivera, about his 8-year-old daughter, about the 23 families paid $50,000 to stay quiet, about the 1.2 million people taking a drug approved on lies. What do you need from me? Marcus smiled. We need faces, real people. That's why they win. They hide behind corporate logos and legal teams. We need to show them the humans they hurt. Alexander nodded slowly. I'll be the face. Billionaire whistleblower has power. Media loves that narrative. But Maya's story is the heart. Marcus looked at her. Working-class woman who tried to do the right thing. Got crushed. Getting a second chance. That's the story people will share. Dr. Hart cleared his throat. I'll testify too. Doctor admitting professional failure. Seeking redemption. Wednesday, 3 p.m. Marcus was building a timeline. News cycle timing matters. We release during afternoon lull. Give it time to build before evening news. Forces coverage. How do we do this? Video testimonies from each view. Maya tells her story from Sterling's Diner. Full circle. Marcus from Northwestern Entrance. Alexander from his office. Dr. Hart from his clinic. Marcus's fingers flew across keyboard. We build a website. Host all the evidence. Make it downloadable. Impossible to scrub from the internet. What if they take it down? Dead man switches. Multiple backups. If the main site goes down, evidence auto-releases to 100 different locations. Marcus looked up. And if anything happens to any of us, everything goes public automatically. Maya's heart was pounding. When do we start? Now. We have 72 hours to prepare, to film testimonies, to organize evidence, to build fail-safes. Marcus pulled up a camera setup guide. And Maya, you need to be ready. Once we do this, there's no going back. I've been ready for 10 years. Maya's voice was steady. Let's finish this. Tuesday night. Maya couldn't sleep. Daniel was in bed, safe in the secure facility Alexander had arranged. Guards outside. Medical team on standby. Protected. But Maya couldn't stop thinking about tomorrow. She sat on the edge of Daniel's bed. He woke up. Always a light sleeper. Can't sleep either? His voice was rough. Nervous. About going public? About what comes after? Maya looked at him. Danny, if this goes wrong, tell me about room 847. Daniel sat up. The patient you couldn't save. You've never told me the whole story. So Maya did. Thomas Rivera, 34 years old, construction worker, came in complaining of mysterious pain, burning sensation in his side. She documented everything. told Dr. Hart something was wrong with the trial. Dr. Hart told her to focus on her studies. 3 days later, Thomas was dead. Heart failure, they said. Maya went to his funeral, saw his daughter, 8 years old, crying over a casket. I couldn't save him. I tried. I documented everything. I reported it, and it didn't matter. They made it disappear. Made him disappear. Maya's voice cracked. What if we expose everything tomorrow and nothing changes? What if we lose and he still stays forgotten? Daniel took her hand. Then at least Thomas Rivera's daughter will know her dad didn't die because he was unlucky. She'll know he was killed, and she'll know someone fought for him. He squeezed her hand. That's not nothing, Maya. That's everything. Maya pulled him into a hug. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You've just been too busy saving the world to notice. They sat in silence. Tomorrow everything would change. Tonight they had this moment, this peace. Tomorrow they'd finish what Thomas Rivera deserved. Wednesday, 3 p.m. Maya sat in Sterling's diner. Camera set up across from her. Alexander's PR team behind it. Marcus standing nearby for moral support. She looked into the lens, took a breath. My name is Maya Torres. I'm a medical school dropout, a waitress, someone you'd never notice, someone whose voice doesn't usually matter. She paused. 10 years ago, I tried to save a man's life. His name was Thomas Rivera. He was 34, a construction worker, a father. He was dying from an experimental drug, and nobody would listen to me. She told the story, all of it. Room 847, the threats, Daniel's insurance, dropping out, carrying guilt for a decade. A week ago, a bodyguard collapsed in this diner. I saved his life, and I realized I was getting a second chance, a chance to finish what Thomas Rivera deserved. She held up the USB drive. This contains evidence of 23 murders, falsified drug trials. Families paid $50,000 to stay quiet. A pharmaceutical company that made billions from a drug approved on lies. And executives who ordered all of it. 3 p.m. Videos went live. Maya's video, Marcus's, Alexander's, Dr. Hart's, all posted simultaneously across every platform. Website went live. VanguardFiles.com. Every document, every audio recording, every piece of evidence. Downloadable, shareable, initial moments, silence, waiting, first share, first comment, then explosion. Hashtag Vanguard Files trending on Twitter within 8 minutes, 15 minutes, 50,000 shares, 20 minutes. #1 trending topic nationwide. Major news outlets picking up. CNN, Fox, MSM, all scrambling to cover the story that was too big to ignore. Other Vanguard victims coming forward. Comments flooding in. I'm taking this drug and having these symptoms. My father died after taking VG-447. I was in those trials. They paid my family to stay quiet. Maya, watch your phone. Interview requests, support messages, threats, all of it flooding in faster than she could read. For hours. Vanguard stock dropped 30%. 6 hours. FDA announced emergency review. 8 hours. FBI opened investigation. And that's the power of refusing to be silent. One waitress, one bodyguard. One billionaire willing to acknowledge complicity. One doctor seeking redemption. Share this story. Make sure it reaches everyone. Because this isn't just about Vanguard. It's about every time powerful people think they can silence the powerless. They'd done it. The truth was out. Now came the consequences. 1 week after the videos went viral, Maya got fired. The Sterling's diner owner, new guy who'd bought it 6 months ago, pulled her aside during her shift. You're great. But the cameras, the people coming and asking about you, it's bad for business. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I'm sorry. Maya walked home in her uniform. 3 people stopped her on the street. One wanted a selfie. One called her a hero. One called her a lying attention seeker who should be in jail. Welcome to being famous. Her phone wouldn't stop. Interview requests, support messages, death threats, all mixed together until she couldn't tell which was which. Vanguard's PR machine was working overtime. Their statement: Ms. Torres is a disgruntled medical school dropout with a history of making false accusations. Her claims have been investigated and dismissed by proper authorities. They didn't mention those proper authorities had been paid consultants for Vanguard. Conservative media picked it up. Failed student attacks, successful company. Liberal media defended her, but moved on after 3 days. Short attention span. Next story. Next outrage. The FBI investigation? Moving at the speed of bureaucracy. Months, they said. Maybe years. FDA review? Same timeline. Vanguard's lawyers filing motions. Delays. Appeals. Meanwhile, Vanguard stock had recovered. Down 30% that first day. Back up 25% 2 weeks later. Still profitable. Still operating. Still selling VG. 447 to 1.2 million people. Alexander's business partners were pressuring him. Recant. Say you were misled. Save the firm. Dr. Hart's medical license suspended pending investigation. His clinic closed. Patients with nowhere to go. Marcus getting death threats. You're a traitor. You should have died. We know where your family lives. Daniel's school found out. Kids bothering him. Teachers treating him like a problem. Can you talk to your sister about keeping a lower profile? Maya sat in her apartment, surrounded by thank you messages from victims' families, and felt completely empty. We told the truth. We showed the evidence. Why isn't that enough? She was on the phone with Marcus, her voice hollow, because truth is just the beginning. Justice is a different fight. Marcus sounded tired, and fights take time. Patricia Whitmore gave an interview on 60 Minutes. Poised, professional, sympathetic. These accusations are a tragic conspiracy theory. We followed every protocol. We grieve for the families who lost loved ones to underlying medical conditions. But blaming Vanguard doesn't bring their loved ones back. It just hurts the millions of patients who depend on our medications. Half the country believed her. Maya turned off the TV and wondered if going public had been the biggest mistake of her life. 3 months later, the subpoena arrived. House Committee on Oversight and Reform. Hearing on pharmaceutical industry practices. You are required to testify. Maya stood outside the Rayburn House office building in Washington, D.C. Marble columns. American flags. Power dripping from every stone. She wore a borrowed suit. Too big in the shoulders. Alexander had offered to buy her something new. She'd refused. Wanted to look like herself. Working-class woman who didn't belong here. Inside, the hearing room was packed. Cameras everywhere. Journalists, victim families in the gallery. And at the table across from where she'd sit, Vanguard's legal team. 6 lawyers. Patricia Whitmore at the center. Perfectly dressed. Perfectly controlled. The hearing opened with Vanguard defense. Patricia's testimony was smooth. Practiced. She had charts, graphs, expert witnesses lined up. Vanguard Therapeutics has served patients for 30 years. Our trials followed FDA protocols. The unfortunate deaths mentioned by Ms. Torres were thoroughly investigated. All were attributed to pre-existing conditions by licensed medical examiners. Patricia looked directly at the cameras. We understand grief makes people look for someone to blame. But science isn't always kind. Sometimes people die despite our best efforts. She was good. Maya could see committee members nodding. Could see how this usually worked. Money, credentials, professional polish. Then Maya's turn. She sat at the witness table, raised her right hand, swore to tell the truth. Congresswoman Martinez, Democrat from California, leaned forward. Ms. Torres, why should we believe you over a company with decades of research credentials? Maya looked at her, then at the cameras, then at the families in the gallery. Because I have nothing to gain from lying. I lost my career, my privacy, my safety. Vanguard has billions to gain from lying. They've already proven they will. She pulled out the photo she'd brought. Thomas Rivera with his daughter. 23 people died because credentials mattered more than truth. This is Thomas Rivera, construction worker, father. He tried to tell doctors something was wrong. Nobody believed him because he didn't have credentials. I tried to report it. Nobody believed me because I was just a medical student. Her voice cracked. She didn't hide it. I'm not asking you to believe me over Vanguard. I'm asking you to look at the evidence. The forged consent forms, the falsified data, the payments to families, the audio recordings of executives discussing how to target poor people because we're less likely to fight back. Silence in the room. Marcus testified next. Voice steady, confessing his complicity. I watched them destroy evidence. I watched them threaten Ms. Torres. I did nothing because I was afraid. Then I spent 10 years gathering proof. I have the emails. I have the recordings. Dr. Whitmore ordered the legal team to keep grief payments under $75,000 to avoid triggering wrongful death lawsuits. She calculated the cost of silencing families. Congressman Weber, Republican from Texas, turned to Patricia. Dr. Whitmore, can you explain why Vanguard paid exactly $50,000 to each trial victim's family? Patricia's polish cracked. Just slightly. Standard grief compensation. Completely voluntary. Marcus pulled out printed emails, slid them across the table to the committee. I have the internal memo. You ordered it. You wrote, and I quote, keep payments under $75,000. Above that threshold triggers automatic legal review. You calculated how much silence costs. The room erupted. Alexander testified. Billionaire acknowledging complicity. I invested $200 million in Vanguard because I trusted credentials over people. Because the system taught me that wealth and degrees equal truth. I was wrong. That failure nearly killed someone I love. And it enabled murders. Dr. Hart testified. Doctor admitting failure. Describing institutional pressure. How speaking up means losing everything. Then Amanda Rivera took the stand. Thomas Rivera's daughter, 18 now, about to start college. I used to think my dad died because our family was cursed, because we were poor and didn't deserve good things. Her voice was quiet but steady. I hated myself for being born into a family that couldn't afford better doctors, better hospitals, a better life. She looked at Patricia Whitmore. Now I know he died because a company valued profit over people. That's different. That's not on us. That's on you. The hearing room was silent. Even the cameras stopped clicking. The Congressional Committee released their findings 2 weeks later. Evidence supports whistleblowers' claims. Vanguard Therapeutics violated federal regulations, falsified trial data, engaged in systematic cover-up of adverse reactions, resulting in patient deaths. Recommendations: FDA revoke VG. 447 approval pending new trials. DOJ pursue criminal charges against executives. Establish victim compensation fund. Implement enhanced pharmaceutical oversight protocols. Maya read the report in her apartment. Daniel reading over her shoulder. Victory, but qualified. Patricia Whitmore resigned. Faced criminal charges. But her lawyers were already negotiating plea deals. Probably served minimal time. White-collar prison. Out in 3 years. Vanguard's board promised reforms. New oversight. Independent review boards. Promises that sounded good on paper, but remained to be seen in practice. FDA implemented new protocols. Named them the Rivera Protocols in honor of Thomas. Enhanced trial oversight. Mandatory independent review. Whistleblower protections. It wasn't perfect. Legal battles would take years. Vanguard was still operating during appeals. Still had billions. Still had power. But it was something. Perfect justice doesn't exist, Marcus told her over coffee. But this matters. 23 families know the truth. 1 million people know to watch for symptoms. The system changed. Not transformed, but changed. That's more than we had 3 months ago. The hearing ended with something Maya hadn't expected. Standing ovation. For her, for Marcus, for Alexander, for Dr. Hart. Victim families crying, thanking them, holding their hands. Amanda Rivera found Maya in the hallway after, pulled her into a hug. Thank you for remembering my father. Maya started crying. 10 years of grief finally breaking through. Your father tried to tell doctors something was wrong. He wasn't believed. I'm so sorry. He was believed. By you. Amanda pulled back, looked Maya in the eyes. I used to think he died because we didn't matter. Now I know he died because a company chose profit over people. That's different. That's not on us. And because of you, I can finally let go. Maya hugged her tighter. She hadn't saved Thomas Rivera. Couldn't save him. But she'd saved his daughter from a lifetime of thinking her family deserved their pain. That mattered. That was enough. 6 months after the congressional hearing, Maya sat in her apartment surrounded by thank you messages and felt nothing. The Victim Compensation Fund was established. Daniel's treatment covered for life. Financial crisis over. They could breathe, except Maya couldn't breathe. Sterling's Diner wouldn't rehire her. Too much attention. Too controversial. Other jobs impossible. She was too recognizable. Couldn't walk into an interview without someone recognizing her face. Alexander offered to pay her as a consultant. Help me screen investments for ethical violations. It felt like charity, like being kept, like giving up. Marcus was physically recovered. Chelation therapy worked. Poison cleared from his system. But he had nightmares. PTSD. Couldn't work security anymore. Flinched at unexpected sounds. Dr. Hart's license was reinstated with conditions. Supervised practice only. His clinic remained closed. His reputation destroyed, then partially rebuilt. Scarred. They'd won. Saved people. Changed the system. And damaged themselves in the process. Daniel found her one morning staring at the wall. You saved all those people, but lost yourself. Maya looked at him. I don't know who I am if I'm not fighting. Then find new fight, one that builds instead of destroys. Knocking at the door. Maya opened it, blinked. Dean Wilson from Northwestern University stood in her hallway. Gray suit, expensive briefcase, uncomfortable expression. Ms. Torres, may I come in? They sat at her kitchen table, the one covered in medical bills that were finally paid. Northwestern wants to acknowledge we failed you in 2015. We're offering you a full scholarship to complete your medical degree, plus a living stipend, plus a guaranteed residency position after graduation. Maya stared at him. Now that I'm famous? Dean Wilson had the decency to look ashamed. Now that we can't pretend we did make a mistake. Will Northwestern also admit they knew about the Vanguard trials? That university officials were paid consultants? Pause. That's under investigation. I can't comment. Maya should have thrown him out. Should have told him his PR stunt wasn't enough. But this was her dream. The dream she'd buried 10 years ago. The reason she'd become a waitress instead of a doctor. I'll accept, on one condition. Maya leaned forward. I get to teach a class on medical ethics and whistleblowing. And I get to tell the truth. All of it. No university-approved sanitized version. Dean Wilson hesitated, then nodded. Deal. For the first time in months, Maya felt something other than emptiness. Purpose. Maya's first day back at Northwestern felt like walking through a dream. Same buildings. Same lecture halls. Different person. She was 31 now. Older than most of her classmates by 5 years. Famous. Trauma-marked. Carrying scars they couldn't see. The lecture hall went silent when she walked in. Everyone knew who she was. Some stared. Some whispered. One student started clapping. Then another. Then the whole room. Maya wanted to disappear. The professor, Dr. Sarah Kim, pharmacology, waited for silence. Then looked at Maya. Ms. Torres tried to expose pharmaceutical corruption as a medical student. She was threatened into silence. She dropped out, spent 10 years carrying guilt for a patient she couldn't save. Dr. Kim's voice was firm. Then she got a second chance, and she didn't waste it. This is what medical ethics looks like. Not abstract theories, real consequences, real courage. Maya sat down, tried not to cry. She was different this time. Not the hopeful 25-year-old who trusted the system. She questioned everything now, challenged professors on pharmaceutical industry funding, pointed out conflicts of interest, pushed back on textbook narratives. Some professors hated it. Some respected it. Her ethics class, part of the scholarship deal, filled up immediately. Standing room only. Students sitting on the floor. Maya told her story. Room 847. Thomas Rivera. The threats. The decade of guilt. Marcus collapsing. The investigation. Going public. Incomplete knowledge can be powerful, she told him. You don't need to wait until you have credentials to speak up. Sometimes outsiders see what insiders miss. Sometimes being incomplete is an advantage. Marcus guest lectured. Security perspective on institutional cover-ups. How to protect yourself while gathering evidence. Alexander guest lectured. How investors enable harm. How wealth creates blind spots. How to use privilege responsibly. Students were inspired. Some shared their own experiences. Things they'd seen during rotations. Things they'd been told to ignore. A movement was forming. Next generation of doctors learning to prioritize patients over institutions. Northwestern dedicated a plaque in memory of Thomas Rivera and 22 others lost to corporate greed. May we never forget that medicine serves people, not profit. Annual lecture series established. The Rivera Memorial Lecture on Medical Ethics. Maya delivered the first one. Looked out at hundreds of faces. Medical students, residents, practicing physicians. All there to hear a former waitress talk about courage. She wore scrubs. Full circle from the opening. Thomas Rivera trusted doctors. They failed him. I tried to report it. The system failed me. But we didn't stop trying. And neither should you. Marcus couldn't go back to private security. The PTSD was too bad. Unexpected sounds sent him into panic. Couldn't trust his judgment anymore. Alexander kept him on salary. Both knew it was make work. Then Marcus found a new purpose. Secure Truth Initiative. Nonprofit organization. Teaching whistleblowers how to protect themselves while exposing corruption. How to safely gather evidence. How to protect your family. How to contact media without being traced. How to build dead man switches. All the things Marcus wished someone had taught him 10 years ago. Alexander funded it. His way of continuing to make amends. Word spread fast. Whistleblowers from other industries reaching out. Finance. Tech defense contractors. Pharmaceutical wasn't unique. Corruption was systemic. Marcus's organization helped expose 12 major scandals in 2 years. Helped protect over 200 whistleblowers. Time magazine profiled him. The bodyguard who guards truth. He kept a photo in his office. Thomas Rivera and the other 22 victims. His daily reminder of why this mattered. Meeting with Maya one afternoon, he seemed different, calmer, purposeful. We can't undo the past, but we can make the future different. You found your purpose. I found my redemption, helping others avoid what I went through. What you went through, that's worth something. Alexander spoke at the Secure Truth Initiative opening. 10 years ago, Marcus tried to warn me about Vanguard. I didn't listen because I trusted credentials and institutions over a security guard. That failure cost him nearly his life and cost others theirs. This organization exists because we need to start trusting people, not positions. The room, filled with journalists, activists, potential whistleblowers, erupted in applause. Marcus caught Maya's eye across the room, nodded. They both found their way forward. Alexander Chen's venture capital firm looked different now. New investment criteria. Ethical practices ranked above profit potential. Patient outcomes prioritized over shareholder returns. Whistleblower protections required before investment. He divested from Vanguard completely. Took a massive loss. Didn't care. Other investors criticized him. You're leaving money on the table. No, I'm choosing not to profit from suffering. The Chen Foundation for Medical Whistleblower Protection was his new legacy. Legal defense for healthcare workers exposing corruption. Living expenses for those who lost jobs. Security protection when needed. Funded Maya's medical school beyond the scholarship. All expenses, books, housing, everything. Funded Daniel's treatment for life, as promised. Funded Dr. Hart's clinic expansion. Bigger facility, more staff, serving more low-income patients. Using wealth as a tool for justice instead of just accumulation. Some business partners bailed. Others respected the new direction. Alexander didn't care either way. He'd finally found purpose beyond profit. Regular dinners with Maya, Marcus, Dr. Hart became tradition. Unlikely family formed by trauma. They kept each other honest, grounded, focused. I was drowning in money and didn't even know it, Alexander told them one night. You all saved me, gave me a reason to exist beyond accumulation. Maya smiled. We saved each other. Real change happens when people with power choose to use it for good. If this story moved you, don't just like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone in power who could make different choices. Make this matter beyond just one case. They raised their glasses. To Thomas Rivera, to the 22 others, to everyone still fighting, to the truth that couldn't be bought, to the ordinary people who refused to stay silent, to justice, imperfect and complete, but real. Maya hadn't been back to Northwestern Medical Center since 2015. She'd been a medical student there again for 8 months, attended classes on a different campus, did rotations at different hospitals, made excuses. But room 847 haunted her. Dreams, flashbacks. Thomas Rivera's face every time she closed her eyes. Dr. Hart cornered her after ethics class. You need to face it. Close that loop. Why? Thomas is still dead. Going to that room doesn't change anything. It changes you. Dr. Hart's voice was gentle. And you need to change. You're carrying a ghost. December 3rd. 10 years to the day since Thomas Rivera died. Maya stood outside her apartment at dawn. Marcus, Alexander, Dr. Hart, and Daniel all offered to come. She said no. This was something she needed to do alone. Daniel hugged her at the door. You face corporations, Congress, and death threats. You can face a hospital room. Northwestern Medical Center looked different. Renovated, modernized, glass and steel where there used to be brick. But the ghosts were still there. Maya took the elevator to the 8th floor. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The hallway stretched endlessly. Room 847 at the end, like a black hole pulling her in. She stood outside the door, hand on the handle. Couldn't breathe. 10 years of grief, guilt, anger, all of it crushing her chest until she thought her ribs would crack. She opened the door. Empty room, between patients. Just a made bed and medical equipment humming quietly. Maya entered, sat in the same chair where she'd sat 10 years ago, where she'd documented Thomas's symptoms while he told her about his daughter, where she'd promised to figure out what was wrong. She remembered his face, the way pain had etched lines around his eyes, the trust in his voice when he said, "You're the only one who's really listening." She remembered the morning she came in for her shift and his bed was empty. The nurse telling her, heart failure. He died around 4 a.m. The grief hit like a tidal wave. Maya cried, alone in room 847. 10 years of holding it together, finally breaking apart. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough." The door opened. Maya looked up, tears streaming down her face. Amanda Rivera stood in the doorway. 18 now, Thomas's daughter. "Marcus told me you'd be here today." Amanda came in, sat beside Maya. "My father would have liked you. You don't know that. I failed him." "No." Amanda's voice was firm. "You saw him. All those doctors, all those specialists with their degrees and their experience. They looked at a poor construction worker and saw someone whose pain didn't matter. You looked at him and saw a person worth fighting for." Maya wiped her eyes. "I couldn't save him. My mom told me he talked about you. The medical student who actually listened, who believed him when he said something was wrong." Amanda took Maya's hand. "Do you know what I used to tell myself? That if my dad had been rich, they would have saved him. I hated rich people. I hated doctors. I hated everyone. What changed? You. You were trying to become a doctor, and you fought for him anyway. You proved it wasn't about doctors being evil. It was about a system that values some lives over others. Systems can be changed. People can be changed. That gave me hope." Maya stared at her. "You're pre-med." "Northwestern, sophomore year. Inspired by your story." Amanda smiled. "You want to honor my father? Help me become the doctor you become." Maya pulled her into a hug, felt the weight of 10 years lifting. Thomas's death had created ripples, had planted seeds. His daughter was becoming a doctor because of what Maya had fought for. "Your father gave me purpose. Even in death, he saved me. Then you're even." After Amanda left, Maya sat alone in room 847 for a few more minutes. "I kept the promise. It took 10 years, but I finished what we started. Rest now. Peace." Finally, after a decade, she left room 847, didn't look back. Outside, Marcus, Alexander, Dr. Hart, and Daniel were waiting. They'd never believed she'd want to be alone after. Group embrace. Family forged by trauma. "I'm ready," Maya said. "Let's go." That night, Maya slept peacefully for the first time in 10 years. She dreamed. Northwestern Medical Center, 2015. She was young again. Medical scrubs, walking hospital corridors that felt surreal. Too bright, edges soft like watercolors. Room 847's door stood open. Inside, Thomas Rivera sat on the hospital bed, healthy, alive, smiling. Maya knew this was a dream, but it felt real. "I've been waiting to thank you." His voice was exactly as she remembered. "I couldn't save you. You couldn't save my body, but you saved my name. You made sure my daughter knows I didn't die because I was worthless. That's everything." Thomas stood. "I've been watching your journey, from wherever I am. I'm proud of you. I dropped out. I gave up. You survived. That's not giving up. That's staying alive so you could fight later. You're here now. That's what matters." Maya felt tears on her face. Was it worth it? All the pain, the fighting, the cost. Ask my daughter. Ask the families of the other 22. Ask the million people taking that drug who now know to watch for symptoms. Thomas smiled. "You know the answer." The dream shifted. The room expanded. 23 people appeared. All the victims, alive and whole in this dream space. They surrounded Maya. One by one, they thanked her, released her from guilt. One by one, they faded into light. Thomas was last. "You kept your promise. Now keep living." He faded. The light consumed everything. Maya woke. Daniel asleep on the couch nearby. He'd stayed close, worried about her. She was crying but peaceful. Her phone said 4:47 a.m. A text from Amanda. Thank you for today. My dad would be proud of you. I'm proud of you. Maya lay in the darkness. For the first time in 10 years, room 847 didn't haunt her. Thomas Rivera's ghost had finally let her go. Or maybe she'd finally let herself go. She was free. November 2028. Maya Torres stood in the wings of Northwestern University's graduation ceremony. Cap and gown, honor cords, medal for medical ethics, doctor of medicine. Finally, the auditorium was packed. Daniel in the front row, healthy, thriving, his condition stable on treatments that actually worked. Marcus next to him, Alexander, Dr. Hart, Amanda Rivera, now a sophomore pre-med student. Everyone who'd fought alongside her. Everyone who'd believed in her. Dean Wilson called her name. Maya Torres, graduating top of her class. Winner of the Rivera Award for Medical Ethics. The room erupted. Standing ovation before she even reached the stage. Maya walked across, shook Dean Wilson's hand, received her degree, the one she'd been denied 10 years ago. Then her speech. 3 years ago, I was wiping tables at 2 a.m., 3 months behind on my brother's medical bills, carrying guilt about patients I couldn't save. Her voice was steady. Today, I'm a doctor. What changed? She paused, looked at the faces in the audience. I stopped believing that my incomplete path made me incomplete. I started believing that every experience, even failure, was preparing me for something. I'm not here despite being a medical school dropout and diner waitress. I'm here because of it. Her eyes found Daniel's. Those experiences taught me what no textbook could. That patients are people first. That systems serve those with power unless we force them to serve everyone. And that the most important qualification a doctor can have is refusing to look away from suffering. Another standing ovation. Maya saw professors crying, students on their feet. Amanda Rivera wiping her eyes. Northwestern had changed. New ethics requirements. Whistleblower protections for students. Community partnerships. Maya's influence woven into the institution. They'd even named a scholarship after her. The Torres Fellowship for Non-Traditional Medical Students. For people from working-class backgrounds. Career changers. People with incomplete paths. After the ceremony, celebration at Sterling's Diner. New owner had bought it 6 months ago. Rehired Maya for one ceremonial shift. Full circle. Maya wore the diner uniform over her graduation gown. Served her friends and family in the booth, where Marcus had collapsed 3 years ago. Where everything had started. The owner had added a plaque on the wall. In this place, November 2025, Maya Torres saved a life and changed the world. Maya touched it. Embarrassed, grateful, overwhelmed. Daniel raised his glass. Mom and Dad would be so proud. I'm so proud. I couldn't have done this without you. The reason I fought. No. Daniel's voice was firm. You're the reason you fought. I'm just the reason you remembered why it mattered. Marcus stood. 3 years ago, I was dying from poison meant to silence me. Today I'm alive because a waitress refused to forget what she knew. Never underestimate the power of one person who won't look away. They toasted to Thomas Rivera, to the 22 others, to every whistleblower still fighting, to the ordinary people who refused to stay silent. Secure Truth Initiative had become a national organization. Marcus's nonprofit had helped 47 whistleblowers in 3 years. Exposed 12 major corporate scandals across industries: finance, tech, defense, healthcare. Time magazine profiled him. The bodyguard who guards truth. He was open about his PTSD now, about the nightmares, about whistleblower trauma. His story helped others understand the cost of speaking up and why support systems mattered. Cowardice is forgivable if you eventually find courage. He told students at universities, employees at corporations, anyone who'd listen. In his office hung a photo. Thomas Rivera and the 22 other victims. His daily reminder. Alexander's foundation had funded legal defense for over 200 whistleblowers. His venture capital firm had transformed. Ethical practices ranked above profit margins. He'd published a book, Complicity, a billionaire's reckoning with profit over people. Donated all proceeds to victim compensation funds. Some called him a hypocrite, said he'd profited for years before his conscience activated. They're right. I can't undo the past. I can only try to do better now. His relationship with Maya, Marcus, and Dr. Hart had become genuine friendship. They kept him grounded, honest about his privilege. He kept them resourced, protected, amplified, symbiotic, each making the others more effective. At Secure Truth Initiative's 3-year anniversary, Alexander spoke. 10 years ago, Marcus tried to warn me about Vanguard. I didn't listen because I trusted credentials and institutions over a security guard. That failure cost him nearly his life and cost others theirs. This organization exists because we need to start trusting people, not positions. The room erupted in applause. Marcus caught Maya's eye across the crowd, nodded. They'd all found their way forward. Vanguard Therapeutics filed for bankruptcy 18 months after the congressional hearing. Patricia Whitmore was convicted, serving an 8-year sentence, reduced from 15 via plea deal. White-collar prison. She'd be out in 5 with good behavior. Not perfect justice, but justice. The company's assets were liquidated. Victim Compensation Fund paid out, averaging $2.3 million per family. Amanda Rivera's family paid off all debt. She attended Northwestern debt-free. VG 447 was removed from the market permanently. The FDA implemented the Rivera protocols, named after Thomas Rivera. Enhanced clinical trial oversight. Mandatory independent review boards. Whistleblower protections built into the system. Thomas's death finally meant something systemically. Other pharmaceutical companies faced increased scrutiny. The industry fought back, lobbying, PR campaigns, legal challenges. But culture was shifting. Patients over profit becoming more than a slogan. Medical schools across the country adopted ethics curricula based on Maya's Northwestern class. The Torres model, teaching doctors to prioritize truth-telling over institutional loyalty. Controversial, but spreading. Maya received hundreds of messages monthly from medical students inspired by her story. Some shared their own experiences of witnessing corruption, now feeling empowered to report it. The next generation of doctors was being shaped by this story. The system wasn't transformed, still favored the powerful. Corporations, still dangerous. But there were cracks in the armor. Whistleblowers were more protected. Victims, more believed. Change was slow, but happening. Maya's video testimony had 47 million views. The comment section was thousands of stories from people affected by medical corruption. Hashtag Patients First trended periodically. A movement forming. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Dr. Maya Torres's first day as a resident physician began at 3 a.m. Northwestern University Medical Center. Emergency Department. She'd chosen this specialty deliberately. Wanted to be on the front lines where people like Thomas Rivera came in. Graveyard shift. She was comfortable in these hours. Always had been. White coat with Dr. Maya Torres, MD, embroidered on the chest. Scrubs underneath. Stethoscope around her neck. She'd made it. The attending physician, Dr. James Park, 15 years in emergency medicine, showed her around. Standard orientation. Equipment locations. Protocols. Chain of command. Then the call came. Incoming. Male 28, construction worker. Acute respiratory distress. ETA 2 minutes. Maya's first case as a doctor. The ambulance doors burst open. Paramedics wheeling in a young man. His face was gray. Lips tinged blue. Hand clutching his side. Maya's training kicked in. But something else too. pattern recognition from an incomplete path. She'd seen this before. Get me a tox screen, full panel, and check for occupational chemical exposure, specifically industrial solvents and heavy metals. Dr. Park looked at her. Standard protocol is cardiac workup first. This isn't cardiac. Look at the localized pain, the cyanosis pattern, the occupational history. Maya was already moving, checking vitals, ordering tests. Trust me, the tests came back. Acute toxic exposure, industrial solvent poisoning, early stages. Treatment started immediately. Within 20 minutes, the patient was stabilizing, color returning to his face, breathing easier. He'd make a full recovery because Maya had caught it early, because her incomplete past, waitressing, medical school dropout, Vanguard investigation, had given her eyes that saw what others missed. Dr. Park pulled her aside. How did you know to check for that? I learned the hard way that when something doesn't make sense, you don't dismiss it. You dig deeper. Break room, 6 a.m. Maya, exhausted, drinking coffee that tasted like victory. She texted Daniel. First patient saved. Thinking about Thomas. His reply came instantly. He'd be proud. Now get some sleep. Maya looked out the window. Chicago, waking up. Sterling's diner visible in the distance. Artistic liberty, but it felt right. 3 years ago, she'd been a waitress watching life pass by. Now she was a doctor actively saving lives. But she was still the same person. Observant, determined, refusing to look away. She thought about promises. To her parents, take care of Daniel. Kept. To herself, become a doctor. Kept. To Thomas, get justice. Kept. New promise forming. Never let institutional pressure silence her again. She wasn't just a doctor. She was a guardian of truth in medicine. Her phone rang. Marcus. How was the first day? Saved a life. Started the next chapter. Thomas would love that. We all would. She hung up. Another patient needed help. Maya walked toward the exam room with the same calm competence she'd shown 3 years ago in a diner. But now she had credentials to match her capability. Now the system couldn't dismiss her as easily. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to hear more stories about ordinary people who refuse to stay silent. And if you've ever witnessed something wrong and wondered if speaking up would matter, it does. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. Don't look away.